Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the Twitter handle. And I'm joined today by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay. And I told you were going to get a laugh. Special guest. Here he is. Des McLean. Or is it your alter ego, Bertie Auld? I don't really know these days.
I would give it a whole flyer here. I've got a wee flyer to give out here. This is the Bendel Liberty poster for the Pavilion Theatre for February 24. Might as well get the plug in early in case somebody goes, oh no, there's McLean, we're going to switch this off. He's a pest. It's not the first time. If Bendel Liberty tickets went on sale, it's a huge success. We're just back from Donegal and Vegas, two of Bertie's favourite places in the whole world. Totally different places, worlds apart. But incredible experience. But that was the plug. Listen, guys, Ryan, it's lovely to meet you, and Tony, lovely to see you again. And
you too, fella.
Thanks for being on.
Ryan, what I might say is you might struggle to get a word in, but it'll no matter because your man's solid gold. Now, for those of you who are familiar with Des and for those of you unfamiliar with Des, I'll just tell you who Des is. Des, a multi-award-winning stand-up comedian, TV and radio presenter and actor, and Billy Connolly has cited Des as his favourite comedian. He's presented programmes for BBC and STV, and he co-hosted the Clyde One breakfast show for 6 years, where they won 3 prestigious Sony Radio Awards. And on stage, Des has portrayed Tommy Sheridan in a production of Hi, Tommy, a critically acclaimed play about Tommy Sheridan, politician Tommy Sheridan. And since 2001, he's been all over the country and all over the world playing 10:30, Bertie Auld, the Lisbon Lion that is. And as he said there, he's just back from Las Vegas and Donegal. We'll talk to Des about being Bertie. We'll talk Yokohama F Marinos game, Ryan. We'll talk transfer targets, and we'll talk Rodgers coming back with Des. But Des, it's wonderful to see you. Good friend of mine, and we'll just mention as well, Des, we were introduced by a mutual comedian friend of yours, Patrick Rollingay, and sadly Patrick's in the hospital at the minute, isn't he? He's in, I think, is it Monklands Hospital, is it?
Big Pat, he's in Monklands Hospital. He had a stroke last week. He sent me a message in the morning. Big, huge Celtic man, and he sadly had another stroke on Sunday afternoon. So obviously our best wishes and strength. With Pat and his family just now, you know.
Celtic Way and the community sends our best wishes to Pat Rolling. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. Now, Des, first things first, I'm going to get your thoughts on the return of Brendan Rodgers. What's your thoughts on that, first and foremost?
For anyone who's watching and any Celtic fans or pals who I'm in a group chat with, and there's quite a lot of these group chats now, this is why I switched my phone off, because you can't get a minute's peace. They will know that I actually was one of the, well, not the few, there's more than that. I was happy with Brendan coming back, basically because anybody else would have been a gamble. They would have been. It doesn't matter if it was Davy Moyes. He's been here before. Absolute massive success. His football was brilliant. Whatever happened when walking away is in the past. There's nothing anyone can do about that now. There's nothing we can do. And I don't care why it happened, how it happened, what reason. He's back now. And to be honest, I think in some ways we're kind of fortunate we've got him back, because he himself didn't need all this hassle, because he's a wealthy man. You know, he's walked back in. He knows he's going to get a lot of grief after, a lot of supporters. But the football was brilliant. Anybody else would have been a gamble. And you remember when he came here at first, his pressing game, he kept going on, pressing, right? Physicality. I'm not going to start doing them, right? But it was all, that pressing game was amazing to watch. And look at his signings, his first one, Scott Sinclair, sensational first season. We had guys like, Stuart Armstrong, Paddy Roberts and all that. Brilliant, I mean, the football was amazing. Griffiths was in top form, Scott Brown, he made a player out of him, Forrest and all that. So you think what he's going to do with his speed of Maeda and all that, with his pressing game. He's not a million miles away from Angie's system, the we never stops of. He loved that aggressive pressing kind of football. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, what's he going to do with guys like Kyogo, Maeda, all these guys, Hatate. So I'm excited. I'm very excited.
We'll get a flavour for it today, Ryan. The team's out for the Yokohama F Marinos game. You want to give me a quick rundown of that team, and we'll try and decipher who's playing where?
Yeah, it's going to have to be in numerical order, unfortunately. They seem to be going back to that. So it's obviously they start with Hart and goals. You get Taylor, Starfelt, Haksabanovic, Abada, Kobayashi, Iwata, O'Reilly, Maeda, Hatate and McGregor. So I'm thinking it's a 4-2-3-1 with Hatate playing right back, Starfelt and Kobayashi in the middle, Taylor on the left-hand side. Then I would guess it's McGregor, Iwata and O'Reilly, and then Haksabanovic and Maeda. Haksabanovic and Abada, and then Maeda up front.
Yep. Not like Brendan Rodgers to mix it up a bit, Des, and throw a couple of curveballs there. No Kyogo
on the bench.
Yeah, that's telling, isn't it?
I'm just saying, we were just saying before we come on earlier, it's not like Brendan to throw a good midfield into fullback. Do you remember that incredibly unforgivable move when he played McGregor at left back, didn't he?
Yeah.
That one did well, didn't it? And Mikey Johnson up front himself. That one on the chin.
Yeah. I just hope that it's kind of experimental. We'll see how So, of course, it'll probably bear no resemblance to the team that will take to the field against Ross County on August the 5th. I thought he might have went hard and fast and played a team similar to what he would play, because it's less than 2 weeks away, isn't it? So, I don't know how many we got right, Ryan, between us. So.
Bosun Lawal isn't at right back, that's for sure.
Exactly.
I was quite surprised when you wrote that, but I would have been interested to see that. I know he would have been fit enough to play that position, I would reckon. But I'm glad to see. I didn't call Haksabanovic being in the team, but he's very much a player that I think that Brendan Rodgers can get the best out of. He's that sort of maverick in the team.
I think that's my prediction for the player that Brendan's going to turn around is going to be that fella Haksabanovic. Because do you remember there was 4 players that people were screaming at, sell them, until when Brendan came, he turned them into. They were our 4 best players. They turned them around. It was Scott Brown, Forrest, Rogic, and who was the other one again? There was 4 of them that he turned down. Was it McGregor?
I don't know about Armstrong. Armstrong was
a bit ineffective, and then every one of these players, whatever he did, his magic, I don't know, man management.
You say Boyata as well.
Boyata as well, of course. I mean, he was another one that was, So definitely, whatever happened, he turned all these guys, and I predict that boy Haksabanovic is going to be one of them. Yeah,
I've already said, Des, that he'll also make Matt O'Reilly a baller like James Maddison. He'll make Matt O'Reilly better. I mean, I love Matt O'Reilly, to be fair, but I think he'll turn him into a player that will end up leaving for multi-millions from Celtic.
Well, Matt's already sang his praises right away. That was a wee bit. He was the first guy, controversial, to come out and go, obviously the papers might a wee bit of pepper. But let's be honest, so Matt came out and thought, so you can tell he's already put his arm in and went, all right, son, we can watch it.
Well, he's already come out and said, this guy speaks to us. He's no aloof type thing.
I think Matt O'Reilly needs that. I think he needs a sort of arm around his shoulder. He needs to be told he's a really good player. That's not a bad thing. All players they're wired up differently, and I think Matt O'Reilly will really, really benefit from playing in that attacking midfield role, which you would assume would be the case in a 4-2-3-1. He'll be the furthest forward central midfielder, but I think like the players that came before him in terms of Brendan Rodgers attacking midfielders. You talk about Coutinho, you talk about Maddison, talk about Stuart Armstrong played in that position, Rogic too. I think he can improve like they all did under Brendan Rodgers.
Des, imitation's the sincerest form of flattery, but we've got a regular contributor, Plunge McNugget. He says, hello, Des, how are you?
I only see one thing back to Plunge McNugget.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's I always think of you when I flick Plunge's comments up. So there you go. Now, Ryan, Celtic have been linked with a couple of players in the past 24 hours. Santos Ferreira from Grêmio. Stress that his name's Santos Ferreira, but he's from Brazilian club Grêmio, and it's not Santos that he plays for. And also Mohamed Rida from Egyptian club Future FC. Now, don't know how strong these links are, but we we usually kind of speak about them when it becomes more than just a rumour, eh? So, and both of those were hit the internet last night, didn't they? Know too much about them, or were you digging as soon as you saw that?
As soon as I seen that Celtic were linked with a Brazilian winger, I was like, yeah, I'll get on the highlights reel. I'll see what this guy can do. He's definitely got a trick or two up his sleeve. Yeah, I think it's a very mixed bag when it comes to Ferreira, because yes, he's got the tricks and he's got the highlight reel, but I think injuries have curtailed these last 2 seasons. He had a muscle injury 2 years ago and then a big hamstring injury last year that made him miss a lot of games. I think he's played a lot of games for Gremio's B side, which has got him back to full fitness, which is quite an interesting development. But we're still looking. We're on the hunt for that Jota replacement, I reckon, and we're just sounding out our options. I know Fabrizio Romano has been talking about Celtic in a positive light today.
For once,
he's saying that there's been internal discussions about Tete coming to Celtic, so that's an interesting development coming from his side. It's good that he's bringing out good news for a change, because it seems as if he must have about a ratio of 1 to 10 for good news and bad news for Celtic.
Des, Celtic have been stung before. Brazilians from Gremio, don't need to say the name, but you know who I'm alluding to.
Is that me swearing on the show? Because
we can call him Raphael, I guess, if that's what we want to say. Yeah.
See, when you think back now, it is staggering that Celtic actually spent $5 million on that guy. Remember?
Yeah. It was 6 million, was it?
At first, I thought my brain's going, no, it couldn't have been 6. Back then.
Yeah.
But what a name! I mean, incredible.
Headline writer's dream in the Glasgow newspapers offices, wasn't he? You know what I mean? So.
Yes, we don't have a great track. I mean, but then the prospect nowadays of a Brazilian coming in, you know, and with Rodgers' style of play and stuff like that, playing alongside the Japanese and all that, it does sound pretty mouthwatering, doesn't it? Though, it does sound exciting.
Tete is the one, but it would be a great coup if they could land him.
Yeah, he's done it before on the big stage. Scored against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu for that good Shakhtar Donetsk team a couple of years ago. He went out on loan to Lyon last season, had a really good spell there. Then he cut his loan short and went back and worked under Brendan Rodgers. It was only a couple of weeks before Brendan Rodgers was dismissed by Leicester, and they had to work under Dean Smith. Don't know if there was maybe a drop down in quality of the managers there, but he just didn't get the best out of him. So it's looking like he's in the process of getting his contract torn up by Shakhtar Donetsk due to the ongoing situation that Shakhtar are facing. Unfortunately, in their homeland, they have to play elsewhere due to the security concerns. So, yeah, I think this is an opportunity for Celtic to really capitalise on a player that's desperately wanting a move, that probably wanting Champions League football as well, and he'd be the star in the team. That's the thing. I think Brendan Rodgers needs that Scott Sinclair sort of person to be the star of the team, and I think Tete could be that guy.
Des, since Brendan Rodgers came back, Jota leaving to go to Saudi Arabia and Moy retiring apart, it has been good news, hasn't it, for Celtic? You know, with the guys re-signing their deals and adding guys like Thiago home, Marco Tilio. So obviously 2 South Koreans reputedly coming in as well, just waiting for the I's to be dotted and the T's to be crossed on those deals. Possibly Tete. I mean, Tete would be a wonderful coup for Celtic if they could, if they get a deal for him. So it's kind of good news week most days, isn't it, for Celtic?
We've lost a couple of guys. Jota, I mean, the guy's went away. He's going to be a very, very rich boy. I wasn't devastated at Jota going, because he was a luxury. He was a bit of a Rogic. When he was good, he was amazing. He was, and there was just not enough. I'm not. He is probably going to turn out to be an absolutely, world class player, the usual when you leave. But we did see enough of him. He did have his moments, and you just mentioned there a guy scoring at the Bernabeu. So did the Bull Jota. He's got that to look back on as well. But he's come back, and the first thing Rodgers did, remember when the first time round, was sign up Kieran Tierney on a long contract. Remember? Away. Right when he comes in, that's McGregor, Kyogo, Maeda, and a good bit of business. Looking forward to seeing this Australian boy as well. So, and yes, I think they've got more to be happy about. As I say, I wasn't, as I say, losing sleep over it, but I knew that Rodgers would come in and secure a few of the current guys, which is just as important as going out there and buying.
Particularly have. Ryan, you've been like a kid at Christmas, you said, waiting for this Celtic game to come up. they had a couple of bounce games against Portimonense, but this is where you, as myself and Sean, who was previously on, we always talked about idiosyncrasies and behaviours. That's what I want to see from Celtic today. Results aren't important per se, but I want to see some kind of team pattern, some style, some kind of formation, and guys just looking the part and having had the benefit of a full pre-season, like as Des said there, Haksabanovic, guys like that. That's what I want to see them go at it straight from the get-go.
Yeah, you want to see good habits getting put in place early doors. You want to see them playing the football that Rodgers expects them to play. I know it won't be an overnight process. They're going to have to work on it, and that's why these pre-season games are good. It might be a bit of a culture shock as well, the fact that Yokohama are halfway through their season. I know that they've named quite a strong side themselves. Quite a few of their regulars are playing, so that'll be a good test for these players coming in, sort of in off the cold. I know it'll be anything but cold over there, but they'll be getting, this will be their first sort of proper big game. I know they've been playing against Portimonense, but Portimonense would have been in the same position as Celtic. Yokohama, they're halfway through their season. They'll be fit and firing and ready to go. And I guarantee you, Kevin Muscat will have them fired up against Celtic. It's quite interesting to see Kevin Muscat, because I know he's very, very loosely linked with the Celtic job. To see Brendan Rodgers facing him, it's kind of like a sigh of relief as well, the fact that Celtic get Brendan Rodgers instead of somebody like that. It would have been a tough sell. That's what you would say.
Very much so.
Very much a tough sell for the supporters.
Des, I want that for Celtic today. I want that up and at them friendly. I don't want people injured, but I want a wee bit of a competitive edge to it, and I want to see guys kind of going at it a wee bit, because I think pre-season friendlies by definition are mundane affairs, but I think that you ramp it up a bit, and I think that's why Celtic have embarked on this tour of Japan, because they can play two teams who are halfway through their season and give that competitive edge to it,
Yeah, I hate these friendlies where they take the whole team off at half time and all that, and then you're going, oh, here we go, it's a training session, You want to get a rough kind of idea of what's coming ahead, and you were saying, oh, he's dropped Kyogo and all that. There's no question Kyogo will come on at some point, but I think neither maybe the Wolves game, you'll start to see what's going to be more like the kind of starting at the start of the season. So, definitely we want to see guys going for it. Remember, this won't be. I mean, although it's a friendly, these guys, Haksabanovic and all these guys, will be wanting to impress Rodgers. They want to be out there. Every one of them want that starting jersey. So this is a big deal to these guys. They were no friendly in their eyes. They were thinking, I want to show this guy. There's a lot of players coming in. There's a big pool here. I want to show this guy, and he's Brendan Rodgers, respected coach and all that. So they'll all be giving it their all. They wait.
Chance for Kobayashi as well, Des. Back in his homeland to impress the manager. He was made a kind of scapegoat in that 3-0 Ibrox game, and he kind of looked a shadow of the player that he was up until that, because he looked as if he was well capable, and then that game came along and he retreated into his shell a wee bit, didn't he? But so this is a chance for him. Ryan's made the point, it's a clean slate under a new manager, chance to impress. You're in your homeland, go and just do what comes naturally to you.
You're right. That was the I liked him right up until that game, and he did become the kind of whipping boy, the scapegoat, and it was a shame because he did look the part, and it was just one of these games where if you collapse at Ibrox and things aren't going your way, especially if you're a defender, you are going to be a massive fall guy, and that's what he was that day. And Celtic, we can be quite guilty of getting on, players back, and remember Ralston and all that, these guys. And Taylor as well was the whipping boy for long enough because obviously he wasn't box office, he was no Tierney, but then he came good. And I've got to laugh because there was a debate on one of the forums: should we bring Tierney back? Nah, he's not as good as Taylor and all that. So who would have thought we'd have been saying that? So it's a crazy. But no, these guys will be playing. They're out to impress Brendan today. Make no mistake.
Yeah. Ryan, do you agree with that? That everybody who's playing today is out to impress the manager?
Yeah, because at the moment there's no clear-cut starters apart from, you would say, probably Hart and McGregor at this point. Apart from that, there's 9 other space. Yeah, well, Kyogo's on the bench, so
I know he's on the bench.
It's good to see that Maeda's getting a chance, presumably through the middle as well. That's a position that he played for Japan so well in the World Cup. That could be very handy for Celtic in Europe, having that sort of one-man fast break or one-man counter-attack when Celtic are under the cosh a wee bit, then they can bring Maeda into things and just run at defences.
Ryan, I go back to that goal he scored at Ibrox. when he took Morelos' pass and he absolutely skinned Tavernier and slid it under McGregor with consummate ease. That's what Maeda brings. It's that quickness of thought. You know, when the ball's in front of him and he knows exactly what he's going to do. We've picked up on the fact, and you might agree with us, Des, that when he's out wide and he's crossing into the box, it can be erratic. But when he gets it on the money, something usually happens, like he's crossed for Jota for the Hampden header, or the Brazen header, as it became known as, to win the semi-final. You know, so when Maeda's on his game like that, things happen. When he's concentrating and he's fully focused, then at other times he can be a bit scatty in terms of running down the wing and then crossing it out the park. You know, and if Rodgers can work on that side of his game, you've got a potent weapon because he has the speed and the quickness, I thought, to do what he did at Ibrox. I mean, that goal he made out of nothing, fashioned out of nothing, but knew exactly what he was doing when he picked up the ball.
Listen, as the great as Bertie Auld, my alter ego, would say, this boy's a Japanese Bobby Lennox. It's as simple as that. This boy's like buzz bomb. Japan. By the way, we haven't had a player of that speed for a long. I mean, incredible.
Yeah.
You think the ball's going out, he goes there, impossible, gets it back, will not stop running. And this is, you're right. This is a guy who's just absolutely incredible, tireless, you know. And when you get that what you just mentioned, that ball, that right in, it was, you thought that's gone nowhere, straight in for the header, bang, rescued it. And you can't, guys like that. This is why the good thing is Brendan signed him up as well, so he clearly fancies him and his plans, and that's always good. That's always a good sign. And you mentioned Kyogo as well. Kyogo on the bench isn't a concern. That's his way of just saying he's a banker. We know.
I don't want it to happen to him, basically.
And also, he's putting guys on today that he wants to have a wee look at and see. Whereas he knows Kyogo's a banker, he knows that he's things. So there's other guys, Haksabanovic, that he wants to go right. Let's see how he fares. So there's no worries there. He'll bring Kyogo in about maybe half an hour to go or whatever. You know, be interested to see what kind of response and reaction they get over there. But enough as well.
Ryan, what are you expecting today? Yeah, on you go. Sorry.
Just quickly before I answer that, he might even play Kyogo out wide when he brings him on. Just having a look. If O's on the bench, you'd expect O to just come on as a striker, because that's his main position, or that's the only position that we've seen him in so far. But we know that Kyogo can play out in the left wing and the right wing as well, so that could be something that he looks at. In terms of what I'm expecting we bit of rustiness, I think, because it's their first big game against a decent side, a side that won the Japanese, the J1 league last season. So they're a good outfit. They've got some good players, a couple of Brazilian players as well, and dotted around the team. I think Ange was one of the sort of, Postecoglou was one of the people that sort of brought in some foreign players for Yokohama and got them playing really well. So I think it's a really good, it's a good opposition. It's better opposition than what Celtic will be facing in 3 days' time against Osaka. Yokohama are one of the better sides in the J1 league, so I'm looking forward to seeing this good test, and hopefully Celtic come out on top, get a couple of goals. But you know, at the end of the day, as long as the team gets through with no injuries and a decent performance, and you can see some positives from the game, then I'll be quite happy with that.
Yes, it's just good to see the football back, isn't it? It seems like ages, but it was June the 3rd that Celtic won the Scottish Cup and the world record 8 domestic treble, but it just seems like a yonks ago, doesn't it, basically, to use a Glasgow expression.
For every Celtic fan or football fan watching, they'll be saying, come on, Celtic, I can't get dragged to Silverburn or IKEA again this weekend. You know, we need the football back for so many reasons. It does feel like an eternity. And honestly, my son was saying, oh, the school holidays are dragging by. I went, they're dragging by. What about the close season, you know? So it feels forever. And we're quite lucky now that we've got, you know, this is happening just now, because I feel as if I want to see, obviously because it's Rodgers, I want to see this friendly, and I want to see who's playing and how he's got them playing and stuff like that. So it's coming round. I would say that's it kind of starting now. We've got the fever back early doors, you know, so...
I'm interested with Haksabanovic too, Ryan. I think there's a player in there. Des thinks there's a player in there, and you do as well. And I think he's the one that the Rodgers, sprinkle of that magic dust on Haksabanovic, and he could well turn out to be the player that we all hope he's going to be. And I was making the point that kind of every goal he scored, he's kind of cut in, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. From the left and bent it in with the right. Some cracking goals. I'm thinking the one against Hearts and the one in particular against, was it Ross County,
Is that the curler?
Aye, the curler, which was reminiscent of Gary Hooper's at Ibrox. You remember that one? It kind of did a different kind of trajectory and then went in the net.
Almost,
he has that in his locker.
Physics,
yeah. He has that in his locker. So I'm interested that I'll be keeping a close eye on Haksabanovic today, because I always felt he was a great impact player for half an hour. And then when he started games, he didn't make the impact that you wanted. So now I want to see what's happened with a full pre-season under his belt, a wild new haircut, and see where he goes. You know, haircuts are good for players. Sometimes they become different animals altogether, don't they?
He'll definitely stand out on that pitch today with that blonde hair that he's got. I think it's just all about his motor, to be honest, his stamina, if he can keep up for 90 minutes, because so far all of his impact has been made when he was, or basically all of his impact was made when he was a sub coming off the bench for that last half hour. But I'd like to see him complete in 90 minutes. I know that won't be the case today. I know they'll change players after 60, 70 minutes, because that's just the way these friendlies go, unfortunately. But in that time, in that 60 minutes, I want to see him make a big impact on the game and stake his claim for the team, because I think every Celtic fan loves a maverick. They love a showman in the team, and I think Haksabanovic could be that person, that sort of a joker card, the guy that can pull a rabbit out of a hat on that left-hand side. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him today, and I hope he takes his chance.
Des, I'm a Haksabanovic fan. You clearly are as well. I think he could be that maverick-type player for Celtic. He just that kind of loose cannon where you just don't know what's going to happen next.
He's a wee box of tricks, isn't he? You don't know what, you know, he's got a good toolbox there. And what we've seen, and it's good because every Celtic fan, nobody dislikes him. They all like what they're seeing.
Yeah.
Most of the time, we're usually quite right. But I think if Rodgers puts his trust in him, and if Rodgers gets him fit, I'm not saying the boy lacks fitness, he's just not had enough of a run, then it could be one of the standouts. It's all down to whether Brendan likes him, whether, you know. So he's the kind of guy, he could be a wee mixture of everything. That goal that we mentioned earlier, very Scott Sinclair. Remember the one that he just got in? There's a wee bit of the Paddy Roberts, a wee bit of everything. He beat players, he can shoot, score. He's the kind of player that we like. He's a Celtic player, isn't he? You know, that unpredictable. Yes. What's he going to pull out the hat? You know, so that's the kind of, he could be a Celtic star.
As your alter ego would say, Des, he's an entertainer.
He's an entertainer. It was all about entertainment. You think he was an entertainer? Jinky would put bums on seats, then he would get you up half your. This is the longest I've done Betty without any industrial language.
It's very hard. Now, you are here for that very reason, Des. Now, I did a big interview with you, and you also said to me one day that I said 3 words about Bertie Auld in one of my tribute pieces. I called him a force of nature, and you said that's exactly what he was. And then in the big interview, I wrote something that struck a chord with you, because I said in 1984, when Carol Lewis won his 4th gold medal with a 4x100 relay, the commentator said, "The big man has the baton, and history is about to be made," as he sprinted to win gold. And I likened it to you, and I said, "The wee man has the baton, and history's about to be preserved." The baton being what you have when you're on stage, being Bertie. And you said that kind of summed it up perfectly. And it must be an absolute joy to play Bertie and to get to know him as well. Yourself and myself got to know him over the years, and he was and he is a force of nature. And everybody, I think the Pope played to 250,000 people in Bellahouston seemingly, but Bertie Auld knew more Celtic fans than that. He was more popular than that, wasn't he? And every Celtic fan seems to have a Bertie story.
You're absolutely right. Force of nature is the best way to describe him. But you asked me a question as well, Tony. You said, like, every single Celtic player, Ryan, everybody dreams of. We've all had a wee dream of playing for Celtic, scoring the winning goal in a fight. You know, you always think, run out in the pitch. And you said to me, the next best thing to pulling on a Celtic strip must be Bertie's blazer. And when I pull on Bertie's blazer, for anyone who doesn't know, we were doing a show and we were doing Bendel at Bertie and a tour. And there's the wee flyer there. So, Bendel at Bertie by Jim Orr, your good friend.
Good friend Jim Orr, yep. Indeed.
So we've just played Vegas, and I'm just back from Donegal, one of Bertie's favourite places. 2 of Bertie's of Vegas in Donegal, right? But we were doing a show in Motherwell Concert Hall to bring us back down to earth from Vegas. And Bertie's family were coming along to that show. And it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of me doing Bertie. If his family don't like it, then that's it, innit? You know, if his family, then it doesn't matter then. So I had to... I was praying that they thought it was respectful, that I wasn't, you know, making a fool of him. And you know, so that was the big pressure gig for me when his family all came along. His grandkids were sitting in the front row at Motherwell Concert Hall. So it was incredible pressure. His son Robert and Robert's wife Susan were sitting in the back row. They were all there. That was a pressure pot. Do you know what I mean, guys? When his family are there, that's who matters, his family. So after the gig, I was like, well, I think that went quite well. I thought it was one of the best shows. And I thought, and it's a real emotional roller coaster, tearjerker, but it's hysterical as well. The way Bertie would have liked it. And Bertie's son came down to the dressing room and he'd been greeting, crying, breaking his heart. And I thought, surely it's not that bad. No, and no, his wife says he's been breaking his heart. He said, that was just like my dad there. You're him, you've nailed it. It's uncanny. And I thought, well, that's it. Mission accomplished. That, you know, I can hold my head up high and no matter what else happens. And then the next day, believe it or not, at 12, it was about lunchtime, and a WhatsApp message came through on my phone, and I'm looking at it, and it was like a green suit jacket, and I went, at close inspection, that's a green blazer, big Lisbon Lion badge. He went, Des, a present from my mum, Bertie's wife, and that was it. To keep, so I've got Bertie's blazer. It's in a security car van just across the road. The two guys guarding it right now. And because the amount of Celtic fans I don't know going, where is it you staying, big chap? Oh, we looked at Harry's bar. Aye, so you did. No, that was what an honour. That's like, you know, that's incredible. That's like, you know, Henrik Larsson, there's my boots, you know. And to think that Bertie has told all those stories wearing that, the held court, regaled people with all these jokes and songs and stories. And when I told his son that we were going to Vegas, he just replied, the blazer returns to Vegas. And I thought, of armour. It's like, you know, like it's like Iron Man putting on that when I wear it, because I just become Bertie, and you're standing there with the blazer on, and Big Jock would always say, you have the ability to entertain, out there and entertain. It was always about the fact, you know, and then when you've got that on and you get the tag shirt and you just become Bertie and the audience are there, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. But you're right, force of nature. This is a guy who everybody, he's, in my opinion, well, I think a lot of he was the greatest ever personality, Celtic personality. There wasn't, I can't think, Jinky was maybe a close second or whatever, but can you think of a bigger Celtic personality ambassador? Because he was just...
He once said to me that Billy McNeill was Mr. Celtic, but he was Mr. Celtic. And Ryan, I've mentioned this a few times and Des agrees. I want Celtic to name the tunnel the 1030 tunnel, because there's the two great stories in Des McLean by heart about the tunnel. And
what did I can tell the other one I can't?
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And obviously, one of them is coming out at Lisbon, and Bertie starts the Celtic song, which basically won the European Cup final because Italians were just like, what the hell's going on here? And then the other one is the famous John Gregg story, isn't it? Well, there's a swear word, but if you can tell it without the swear words, you can.
I'll do it without the swear word. We're standing there over at Castle Grayskull, you know, in Ibrox in the tunnel, and you know the players are all trying to focus, but there's other players trying to get into your head and all that. Big John Gregg, Big Greggy, he's shouting out at me, wee man, what's your win bonus today? I says, we're on £3. He says, we're on 6. I says, I know, but ours is guaranteed. Like the way I self-edited the industrial language there.
So Ryan, I've always said that it should be called, I mean, imagine the 1030 tunnel with things that Bertie said. Can they play, you know, the Celtics that entertain, you know, imagine running out the 1030 tunnel. I mean, I just think Celtic would be missing a trick if they didn't have that, Ryan. And this is a player that I never seen, Des never seen, you've never seen, but we love him dearly.
But we all know. We all know him.
We all know him, and we all love him dearly.
Well, I never met him, but I feel like I met him because, you know, he's just that sort of personality. You hear stories. He was, he knew my papa quite well, like those after dinner sort of events. And my papa always spoke about him with the highest regard. So, yeah, he's definitely a very popular figure, even in and out of Celtic.
He was Celtic's answer to Bob Monkhouse, Des, wasn't he? Because Bob Monkhouse was the million joke man. Bertie was a million song and joke man, wasn't he? You were guaranteed two things with Bertie. You were guaranteed a joke, and you were guaranteed a song. Always.
In Bend at Bertie, there's a few photographs at the end of the show. We went over to see Bertie during lockdown, myself and Jim. It wasn't during lockdown, it was between lockdown and just before MD sticks me in. It was that time when we were getting out of it. And we went over, and there's a bit where Bertie's holding the poster on that says "Coming Soon, Bend at Bertie." And sadly, the great man, you know, he wasn't here to see it. And that's a really sad one because we met him that day. And, you know, Robert, his son, says, oh, he's still a wee bit kind of a muddled up there and all that. No chance. I couldn't get a word in. That's bad, right? I think Jim Orr, who likes to talk, he couldn't get a word in. And it was just pure vintage Bertie. It was just, just come out, listen, son, I promise you, see another thing. Listen, see that team you're talking about, I went and stiffened him by the third minute and I get hooked up non-stop, right? But Billy Connolly himself says, if Bertie wasn't a footballer, he'd have been a stand-up comedian. His timing was brilliant. And it's true, when you see Bertie, if anybody goes on YouTube and looks at Bertie and Baird's Bar and all these, you know, and just standing there, I mean, there's a lot of stand-up comedians who would run a mile if you give them up in places like Baird's Bar, you know, just all punters standing with a pint, and he would slag every Celtic player that walked in late and all that. It was incredible. And I was over in Ireland there in Donegal. I have to give a special mention to Martin McHugh, a guy behind the man behind the Bertie Old Legacy. He put us all up and over there to do a show, and there's a pub over there. It's got photos. It's like a Bertie museum, Sean Oggs, and Martin put him up in his house, and he loved it over there. And even all the Irish people all went, oh, Bertie, I can tell your story when I met Bertie. The landlady can tell your story when I met Bertie. The taxi driver can tell your story when I met Bertie. Now, there's a lot of people in this day and age who won't stop for a selfie or anything. Bertie would go out his way, and when he met you, how you doing, son? How you doing? How's your family? And how's it? Always ask about yourself, and that's a special type of person, you know.
I wrote as well that Bertie every day gave people, whether they wanted it or not, the gift of Celtic. That's what he did. He was, as you say, a brilliant ambassador for the club. He was Mr. Celtic, and it didn't matter. I mean, Rangers supporters loved him. All opposition fans loved him because he would stop and talk to them, Ryan, as well. You know, his wife used to say she hated going to the shops because, like, a half an hour trip became 4 hours, you know, because he spoke to everybody and he bestowed the gift of Celtic. If you weren't a Celtic fan or weren't a football fan, by the time you left Bertie, your colours were green and white, and you became a big Celtic man or woman. So I just think that's a wonderful gift, isn't it, in itself, that you can have any person from any walk of life eating out the palm of your hand. And I give you this footage of Ronnie O'Sullivan when he met him. Ronnie O'Sullivan was a world championship snooker player at the time, and he's at Celtic Park, and force of nature, Ronnie's just awestruck with Bertie Auld, absolutely awestruck, and he's in his element and he's loving it. And you say to yourself, that's a wonderful gift bestowed on very few people, but through Celtic, and he gave it to everybody. He just wanted to let them know how good Celtic were, Ryan, and just you know, and always played down his own accomplishments, which is a sign of a great man.
You forget he was a Lisbon Lion, and he was everything that he won.
He never spoke about it, did he? He spoke about everything else, and I would never say, we had a good team, son, no, that kind of stuff. I was full of good players.
Apart from else, he was an awesome footballer. You know, amazing.
He was brilliant. Yeah.
Goals in 279 appearances. Sorry, Ryan, you're on.
When you go, Ryan.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
No, sorry. He knows he can't get word in, the usual. Sorry. No, he put it to you.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm really enjoying hearing about all the stories about Bertie Auld and that. So, yeah, an absolutely great man. I never met him myself, but like I said before, it seems as if I did meet him through all the videos and all the stories that he's told. You know, they're things that will live on forever, and you just hope that Celtic immortalise him even further by dedicating something for him in the stadium or in and around the club.
Has to be the tunnel. Has to be the tunnel.
Idea, Tony, that is incredible. You could just see people standing there, you know, I promise you, magnificent,
yeah,
you know, and getting a wee photo, you know, the Bertie. It was that should be there. That's
could become Celtic's equivalent to This Is Anfield.
Aye,
you know what I mean? That kind of, you know, intimidating.
Start singing and that.
Aye, you know, I'd have his voice singing, you know, coming out as you. Aye,
amazing.
I mean, I think that would be brilliant. You know, I know they play the Celtic song Glenn Daly's version when the teams come out and stuff. But can you imagine as they come out of the tunnel, you could hear Bertie singing it? I think that would be brilliant.
Can you imagine like walking out in this current play, walking out and knowing what Bertie did that day over in Lisbon, and how would that make them feel walking out, you know, in games against Rangers and all that? That wee Bertie started that when Inter Milan, who cares? Hey, you know, that was incredible. But see that video you're talking about on YouTube with Ronnie O'Sullivan. If you don't have the time to tune into things, I don't like it as in this world. That's only about 2 or 3 minutes long, and Ronnie was totally, oh my god, he'd blown away. You're right, he was wow, and he was laughing his head off. And he went, listen, if you're ever doing it at Crucible, come and see a game of snooker and all that. He genuinely couldn't stop laughing. Bertie was in top form, and that's a guy in another sport, a different generation. For that, everybody, he could just turn his magic in seconds. Incredible.
Speaking of magic, we're hoping that Celtic turn on the magic against Yokohama F Marinos, Ryan, and we'll wrap this up and let everybody go and watch Celtic first real kind of game under the Brendan Rodgers regime. Des, it's been wonderful having you on, or Bertie, I don't know what to call you now, or Tommy, or whoever. Just man of many voices and just multi-talented. But thanks very much. Really loved that. Good luck with Bertie if you're taking it to the Pavilion again, aren't you? Is that right?
We're back, and it's Spiritual Home, which is a Pavilion Theatre. Bertie had been there many times, and it's pure Glasgow. We loved it there. We're back in February. So it's only a few months away. So we're back. The tickets are on sale now. That's a shameless plug. There you go.
If you haven't seen it, guys, get yourself along to it. It's wonderful. You'll love it, and you'll be entertained by the entertainer himself. Ryan, thank you very much. Another stellar contribution when we both got a chance to speak. But hey, there's a star on the show here, and we give him his platform, and we've loved it. We hope you guys have enjoyed it. We might be back later on today, Ryan, to discuss what happened in Yokohama. Yeah?
Yeah, I think we'll let the dust settle and then we'll come on later for another show.
Excellent. Look forward to that, discussing everything, all leather belts, Marjorie Proops, the fuzzy felts. Before I go, Des, just saying to Ryan, I told a story the other day about getting the 242 goals tribute pull-out signed by the great man himself. You were with me that night, weren't you, when I accosted Alan Stubbs? Yeah. Yes. And it was you that said to me, you have to do this or else you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And he signed every page, and it was just, it was a great moment in sport, basically, yeah.
We were there that night. That was by the way, that was a real who's who. I've never been to an event, I don't think ever will, where there was so many Celtic greats there. Oh my, I mean, I was starstruck to see Wayne Biggins walking at that toilet. No, that was incredible. And then Larson, you were sitting there and you were itching. Every page. That was incredible.
It was incredible.
Tony, are you the guy from Airdrie?
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks. So no, that was. I bet you're glad. That's one of these.
Without a doubt.
Bang! You went on it.
Correct. I mean, it just kind of needed a couple of running-ups, but your man there was responsible for making me actually go and do it. Right, guys, that's 11:15. I'll let you go and put the kettle on and get yourself settled. Des, can't thank you enough. We'll see you again, no doubt. All right.
My pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Talk everything.
Lovely meeting you, Ryan. Thanks.
Take care. And Ryan, we'll be on later on this afternoon, yeah?
We will be, yeah, in a couple of hours after the game, I'd imagine, but we will be on to talk about the football.
Excellent, Des. Enjoy the game if you're watching it, and good luck with Bertie.
I'm just looking up Harry's bar right now.
I can see that.
On that screen right now. Outside. Guys, all the best.
Wonderful. We'll see you again, Des. Take care. Guys, if you've enjoyed today, you know what I'm going to say. Hit that subscribe button for top quality journalism covering the club you love. Visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Go and hit the button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Take care. All the best.
Bye-bye.